In 1989, if you wanted to see a movie on a Friday night, your world was defined by a single color palette, blue and gold. This wasn't just a store, it was a ritual. For an entire generation, the phrase "a Blockbuster night" was the default setting for entertainment. They owned the monopoly on family leisure. It began as a computerized database dream in Dallas. Founded by David Cook, Blockbuster Video revolutionized the game not with movies, but with technology. While smaller stores offered a chaotic mix, Blockbuster offered predictability. 8,000 titles per store, 3-day rentals, and most importantly, they used a sophisticated computerized inventory system that ensured the movie you wanted was actually on the shelf. The growth was viral. By 1988, they were opening a new store every 24 hours. They weren't renting movies, they were managing a sophisticated logistical empire. But as the empire grew, the value engine changed. Blockbuster stopped focusing on being the best place to rent a movie and started focusing on maximizing the penalty for renting a movie. Their revenue model became dangerously dependent on late fees. This penalty revenue was pure profit, accounting for nearly $800 million a year, a massive portion of their bottom line. The ritual of the Blockbuster night was now underwritten by a secondary ritual, the panicked race to the store before midnight on the third day. The system was optimized for failure, and the customers were the ones paying the price. By 2000, Blockbuster was a colossus. They had 9,000 stores, 60 million subscribers, and controlled nearly 25% of the global video rental market. They were the apex predator, and like Kodak before them, their monopoly blinders were on. That same year, a small startup called Netflix, founded on the simple, frustrating premise of a $40 Blockbuster late fee, approached them. The Netflix team had a crazy idea. They wanted Blockbuster to acquire them for just $50 million. Blockbuster's CEO, John Antioco, reportedly laughed them out of the room. He didn't just see Netflix as a tiny niche rival. He saw the entire digital delivery concept as a cute toy that would never replace the physical store experience. This wasn't just arrogance. It was institutional blindness. The rejection didn't kill Netflix. It focused them. They launched their subscription service in 1999, utilizing the post office, a massive pre-existing distribution network, to bypass Blockbuster's physical footprint. The value proposition was devastatingly simple. No late fees. Keep the movies as long as you want. They eliminated the single biggest customer pain point that Blockbuster had turned into a revenue stream, while Blockbuster customers were fighting traffic to return one tape. Netflix subscribers were receiving 3 DVDs, curated via a personalized algorithmic queue. The competition wasn't fair. It was asymmetrical warfare. Blockbuster was optimized for a dying ecosystem. Their entire model was built on heavy physical assets, stores, warehouses, trucks, and a massive workforce that had to physically restock heavy tapes. Their logistical tail was enormous. Netflix, by comparison, was a nimble, automated operation. Their primary asset was software, the prediction algorithm that minimized shipping costs. As DVD adoption exploded, Netflix's operation became faster, cheaper, and more scalable. Blockbuster was a dinosaur trying to catch a warm-blooded, data-driven mammal. By 2004, the bleeding was catastrophic. Blockbuster was losing $100 million a year to Netflix. They finally awoke to the digital threat, but they committed corporate sabotage in their attempt to respond. Blockbuster launched Total Access, their own DVD by mail service. The premise was brilliant. Subscribers could return their mail-in DVDs to the local store and immediately swap them for a free in-store rental. It was an existential threat to Netflix. For the first time, Blockbuster used its massive 9,000 store footprint as a competitive advantage, and customer adoption skyrocketed. But total access was hemorrhaging cash, and crucially, it eliminated the late fee revenue model that was the empire's lifeblood. Blockbuster was cutting off its own economic oxygen to fight a nimble rival. This is where the story gets tragic. Total access was working. Netflix was panicking, losing subscribers for the first time. But in 2007, an activist investor named Carl Icahn, the very man who had fought to remove Antioco, gained control of the Blockbuster board. Icahn didn't care about market share or long-term competition. He was a corporate raider focused on immediate short-term cash flow. He looked at total access and saw an unprofitable, high-cost program that had destroyed the profitable late-fee model. In a fit of shareholder blinders, Icahn fired CEO John Antioco and immediately raised the price of total access, effectively killing its competitive advantage. Blockbuster had built the bridge to the future, and then dynamic, short-term greed, deliberately dynamic, dynamited it. The true cataclysm, however, was not Netflix's envelopes. It was high-speed broadband. In 2007, the same year Blockbuster sabotaged its own DVD-by-mail service, Netflix launched Watch Now, their streaming product. Suddenly, the asymmetrical war became apocalyptic. The entire fundamental concept of entertainment delivery was changing from physical logistics, shipping plastic discs, to digital delivery, streaming bits over the internet. For 20 years, physical media was Blockbuster's competitive moat. Now, physical media was the heavy anchor dragging them into the abyss. While Netflix was building the streaming infrastructure of the future, Blockbuster was doubling down on physical machines of the past. They partnered with NCR to build thousands of Blockbuster Express kiosks, automated vending machines that rented DVDs in grocery stores for $1. This was another symmetrical response. Instead of fighting Netflix's data, Blockbuster was fighting Redbox's convenience. They were fighting the wrong war. The kiosk model was low margin, high asset, and did nothing to bridge the gap to the digital future. The late fee revenue that funded the entire empire had vanished. Blockbuster was now a massive logistical dinosaur without any economic food source. This is what a collapsed monopoly looks like. Starting in 2008, the empire began a multi-year liquidation event. 9,000 global stores were systematically closed. Thousands of employees were laid off. Billions of dollars in real estate were liquidated for pennies on the dollar. The once pristine blue and gold brand, which had symbolized safe family leisure, now symbolized failure, bankruptcy, and obsolescence. The ritual of the Blockbuster night wasn't just dead, it was embarrassing. In 2011, Blockbuster filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, but even in death, the body was still valuable to corporate vultures. Dish Network acquired Blockbuster in a desperate move to build its own streaming service, Blockbuster On Demand. For a moment, it seemed like the brand might survive as a streaming platform, but Dish Network didn't understand the digital ecosystem. They tried to build the streaming service as an add-on to their core satellite TV product, fighting Netflix with a business model that was already obsolete. The resulting service was a technical failure, clashing visually and conceptually with the clean digital data cloud future. The last attempt to bridge the gap failed, and Dish Network eventually shut down all remaining operations. Blockbuster was now, officially, a ghost. Today, the blue and gold torn ticket empire survives as a physical absurdity. There is only one left. In Bend, Oregon, a small independent franchise owner who refused to liquidate, creating a cultural pilgrimage site. It is a tourist trap built on pure, unadulterated nostalgia for the friction of physical media. It exists not to rent movies, but to allow us to hold on, if only for a moment, to the tactile memory of a time before the data cloud consumed everything. But we must be careful with our nostalgia. The friction we miss, the late fees, the driving in the rain, the finding of the only available copy, was the very thing that made Blockbuster vulnerable to destruction. Netflix didn't create the digital revolution. They exploited the physical friction that Blockbuster turned into a multi-billion-dollar business model. The failure wasn't technological. It was institutional. Blockbuster was so successful at being a physical logistics giant that they could not conceive of an existence without physical media. Success became their dynamic short-term death trap. This is the ultimate lesson of the corporate ghost stories. A monopoly is not a fortress. It is a temporary advantage. The very friction you turns into profit today becomes the vulnerability your nimbler rival will exploit tomorrow. Success in the digital age is not a destination. It is a temporary state. If you refuse to cannibalize your own value engine to build the future, your replacement is already in the mail. Blockbuster chose to protect the past, so the future chose to erase them. Join us next time on Empire Archive as we uncover the next story that shaped our world, so we don't repeat it.